Good afternoon. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. My name is Ben Chase, I'm the owner and head coach of High Perception Hoops, as you can see by this beautiful logo behind me. We are a basketball training and coaching company focused on developing basketball IQ and decision-making skills. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about my background, how we got here, how we came up with this new concept, and a lot of the other things that we're looking to bring with this new kind of company. If you'll allow me, I'm going to share my screen really quick here and get this presentation going. Like I mentioned, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, my background, the concept of the way we're training now and how that was developed, a little bit of detail about this principle-based system of offense that we use to develop decision-making in basketball IQ, our practice framework, and then some of the stuff we have with our fall programming that we're offering this year. A little bit about me. I've spent the last 10 years as a Division I basketball coach. Most recently, I was at Army West Point. Before that, I was at Boston University, and I got my start coaching at Houston Baptist University, the smallest Division I in the country. I'm from Northeast Massachusetts originally, so it was a little bit of a culture shock for me going down there to South Texas, but I learned a ton. Awesome experience. As far as coaching goes, this system that we're running at High Perception Hoops is what we ran in Army for the last 2 years. The biggest difference between our system and a traditional system is that we play based on principles. So we don't have any set plays. We put these principles in, and our players come together, read the cues from each other, and connect to find opportunities to score and hunt high value shots. It was a little different when we implemented it at Army. We were coming off a season where we graduated 2 seniors who accounted for 50% of our scoring the season prior. Expectations were low. Our team was young. We were mostly freshmen and sophomores. So we felt like great time to try something new. The stuff that we'd been doing in the past, which was kind of traditional. We had a big, thick playbook with about 50 half court plays and then a bunch of out of bounds plays on top of that. And it was all rote. We were kind of dictating everything that our players were going to do. So we did a complete 180, and we put this system in, and we're training our players, trying to develop their IQ and decision making, and trusting them to make mistakes and grow along the way. We got off to a little bit of a rocky start. Our record wasn't good the first year that we did this, but we came on really strong at the end, and heading into our conference tournament, we were that team that nobody wanted to play. We had 5 players who could all shoot threes. We spaced the court. Everybody was empowered to score when the opportunity presented itself. And when I pulled players aside, just to kind of ask about the experience towards the end of that season, the consistent feedback I got was they felt like they individually improved more in that season than any other season that they'd played basketball before. They felt like our team grew more from the beginning of the season to the end than any other team they'd ever been a part of. And they said they had the most fun they'd ever had playing basketball. Quite a trifecta there. It was great for me to hear that, because that was exactly how I felt as a coach. Really challenging in the beginning, but so rewarding. Had a lot of fun, really got to see the team grow, which was amazing. I'm totally sold. This is the only way I'm going to coach, unless I find something completely different that, is an improvement upon this down the line. But I can't go back to the old way, because I just think the results are way better when you do it this way. My playing background also kind of prepared me for this. I played at Newport High School, wasn't very good. Loved basketball, wanted to keep playing, went to Emerson College in Boston, small Division III, and made the team there. Didn't really play much as a freshman. And then we graduated a big senior class. I got a little more opportunity as time went on. But my junior year was when things really changed. We implemented a positionless system. So 5 out of necessity. We only had one guy who was taller than 6'4". So, we put this in because our best players were guards and we needed to play them. So we were 5 out, and we were passing, cutting, moving, shooting threes, spacing the court out. And my senior year, we had a tremendous season. We actually led the nation in field goal percentage, playing a lineup that had no one over 6'4" in it at any point in the season. And our 164 guy got hurt for, probably half the season. Right around Christmas time, he was hurt up until the playoffs. leaving me a 6'1" guy as the tallest guy on the court. So usually the teams that lead the nation in field goal percentage have a lot of big guys. They pound it inside. They get those shots right around the basket. So we were a little bit of an outlier there. But my personal transformation, having been a role player, having not been very good, this system really allowed me to do things that I was good at. I couldn't handle the ball. I couldn't drive. I couldn't beat somebody one-on-one and make a play. But if I was moving off the ball, if I was finding space, I was in great shape. I kept moving and cutting, and I played with some great passers who just put the ball right in my hands and gave me great shots when I could find that space. So I went from being a role player, and that senior year, I led our team in scoring. It was actually an All-American, D3 All-American. And I attribute all of my success to playing and practicing this way. It wasn't that I was a good player who wasn't getting the looks. It was this system kind of tapped into the things that I could do. And once I saw it, I ate it all up and really went after it. So, having seen from the coaching side and the playing side, I know this works. I know it works both ways. And I'm really excited to kind of bring that success and all the positive things that come with having that positive sport experience that I experienced personally to others through High Perception Hoops. So I talked about this a little bit already, but our primary focus as a basketball training organization is to develop IQ and decision-making skills. We plan to develop tactical skills in a game-like setting to maximize transfer. So we play tons of small-sided games. Instead of doing drills and breaking things down that way, what we really want to do is teach the concepts, teach the principles, and then allow our athletes to learn through experience. So we coaches are really kind of guiding that learning. We're making sure we stay within the parameters. We're implementing constraints that force players to work on the things that we want. So, for example, 3-on-3 no dribble is a staple of our practices, and the reason for that is it forces players to work on hard cuts, finding space, and making really quick decisions with the ball because the defense can be all over you. So the two ways you're really going to score in a no dribble game are hard backdoor cuts for layups and hard cuts along the perimeter where you're ready to catch and shoot. But it really speeds the game up for everybody because the defense knows you can't dribble, so they can overplay, they can pressure. And so when we set the tone that our players are going to train this way, and this is what the environment's going to be like in practice, it's naturally a little bit of a drop off when they get into a competition setting because defenders just can't get up on them the same way that they can in the no dribble game. So that's an example of how we try and develop these technical skills through our small sided game framework. And then we really want to focus on competing and having fun. So in my 10 years as a coach, the biggest thing I think we miss at the college level is that fun component. We treat it like a job. There's a lot of pressure, especially at the Division I level. When you're on TV, you're trying to sell tickets. It's more than just training athletes and helping them develop. But if you're not having fun, you're going to burn out and you're just not going to reach the highest levels that you possibly can. So playing a lot of games, we try and be positive. We want our athletes to want to be in our sessions, and then playing games all the time, you're going to compete. So we set the bar high and help our athletes cross over top of it. So now I've talked about it. I want to give you guys an idea of how we play. So I'm going to pull up a video here in a second. What I want you guys to watch for are ball movement, player movement, and spacing. So we really try and space the court out. When the ball moves, we want everybody off the ball moving as well. We want to make it as hard as possible for that defense to stop us. We want to make them cover a ton of ground. We want them to have to keep looking at their player and at the ball. And we want to open up driving and cutting lanes for players to get to the basket, find space, and get those high value shots. So rather than playing it in here, I am going to pop out into my browser, and here we go. So watch as we transition in here. We're all around the perimeter. There's so much space. When we get those backdoor cuts, there's nobody sitting there in help side. This is a great possession. Watch how the ball moves. So we're kind of jammed up. It's slow in the beginning, but we're really trying to teach our athletes that, hey, there's going to be randomness on the court. You're not going to know exactly what's going to happen. You don't know when that defender is going to lunge out there from one pass away and try and take it away. But you just got to keep moving, keep creating passing lanes. And on that possession, we got a great look for a wide open three for a girl who shot about 44% from the 3-point line. So here again, kind of jammed up at the beginning of this possession. We move the ball, everybody's moving in unison, finding space. Another great 3-pointer for a 3-point shooter. So here, that was our biggest player on the court. We drew their big center out. You know, we get a lot of mismatches playing this way because if you want to have an old school post player playing inside, they're going to have to chase somebody around. They're going to have to move. And if your biggest player on the court can shoot threes, nightmare matchup for the opponent. All right, so just a quick taste of what I'm talking about. Hopefully that helps as we get back into the presentation here. So I've talked about principles. The way that we define a principle in our organization is so we differentiate it from a rule. As we say, a rule is something that's hard and fast. So when you put a rule in place, that's something you do every single time. With a principle, that's something you do most of the time, but when there's a reason to break the principle, and our guiding principle is find the space that's going to create a high value shot for us. You have the autonomy to do that. So to give you the most basic example, here are some of our moving principles. On a drive right, we have everybody move right. On a drive left, we have everyone move left. If you look at the diagrams on the left side of your screen, the way we space our 5 out, we have 4 on the perimeter, and then we have 1 on that baseline spot. That's like kind of heels down on the baseline behind the backboard. We're trying to keep all those alleys for cuts and drives to the basket wide open. Playing that low, you almost get the effect of what it's like in lacrosse and hockey when you can go behind the goal and turn the goalie around. It disorients the defense. It makes it so much harder for them to help. And that baseline spot's not necessarily a fixed spot. That player can really be anywhere outside the key along that baseline. But we found that creates gaps wide enough to drive through, and creates scoring opportunities along the baseline because of that disorienting effect that it has on the defense. So those folks that are in the corner and on the baseline, you know, once you get to that baseline, you continue moving in that direction. So we kind of get this constant flow of player movement, which, you know, especially when we're constantly attacking the paint, kicking, swinging, moving it again, you know, mixing that ball movement, player movement with our great spacing just makes it so much more difficult for the defense to contest the high value shots. So the last 2 pieces down there, avoid consecutive drives and avoid rips back to the pass. Consecutive drives, you know, when we drive into the paint and collapse the defense, if we kick it out and immediately drive again, a lot of times the defense is still kind of collapsed in there, so they don't have to fully close out and expand again. Whereas if we drive, we kick, and then we swing it with 1 more pass, that gives the defense enough time to recognize what's going on, freak out a little bit, and sprint out with a closeout. And that's really what we want. We want to be attacking these closeout situations where the defender's momentum is coming full speed at us while we're out there on the perimeter. So that's the logic behind avoiding consecutive drives. But again, it's a principle. So in the last clip we watched, we had a back-to-back drive. And so our player on the perimeter caught it, saw that there was space, ripped a second time, and then we moved it. You know, I think we kicked it and swung it 1 more time before we got the drive that actually got us the open layup. But yeah, as a standard, you know, that's our principle. And then avoiding rips back to the pass. The space is typically away from where the ball is, but there are times where it's back the way before. So we train our players to get in the habit of ripping away, but as they build that IQ, when they see space back towards the pass, or if there's an opponent who sets their defense that they're automatically going to jump and try and take away our rips away, we read it, we rip, we attack accordingly. So the practice framework, I think this is the real gold here. We don't run any drills. So I mentioned before, play a ton of small-sided games, and we use those constraints to really focus those games on the skills we want to develop. We don't script the 5-on-0 offense. That doesn't mean we don't ever go, 3-on-0, 4-on-0, 5-on-0. We do that a lot when we're introducing concepts. But the key is we want it to be random to some degree, so our athletes have to make decisions. The more decisions they have to make, the more realistic the situation becomes, and the better it transfers from our practice setting to a game setting. So we try and go 3, 4, 5-on-0 as little as possible. So as soon as they have a general understanding of the concept, we put it into a competitive setting, and then we let it get messy for a while, and we kind of guide it as it goes. And we understand, it's not going to look great. A lot of these concepts when we introduce them aren't going to look great, but the goal is we work through it. We get our athletes feeling comfortable with it not looking great or not being great at something right when they start doing it. And wouldn't you know it, over time, it starts to smooth itself out and look a little bit better. We want everybody in practice as involved as possible. We want to be super inclusive. So we try and put our groups together in a way where we have divisible numbers, where we don't have, an odd person or two sitting out on the sidelines. We want everybody going the whole time. We want our workouts to be fast and engaging, and we want to put a ton into those workouts. So if we only go for like an hour and 15 minutes, most of our athletes usually are pretty tired by the end of it. So it's a good workout, even though it's not necessarily a long workout. And then we put the random variable stuff in. So when we shoot, we incorporate decision making there. That's the random variable part. And I won't go too in depth with this tracking progress with cognitive scoring, but essentially we're trying to make it more tangible. So it's not, the feedback isn't you got better at making decisions. We want our athletes to see and have some quantitative measure to say, okay, here's where I started. Here's where we were in the middle, and we got some specific feedback on what to work on. And then by the end of the full session, the set of workouts that we do throughout a season, we want to have something tangible to measure and say, hey, this is how much your IQ and decision-making ability improved over the course of our program. So I have a few practice clips to show you some of what we do. Let me run through this stuff really quickly here. So popping back out to YouTube, excuse me. But yeah, so finishing is one thing we put a heavy emphasis on. So to make things game-like, everything needs to be full speed. So here, we're not as concerned with missing layups as we are with going full speed and trying to maintain an advantage that you have in a game. So we call this one-on-one advantage. We start the defender about a half step behind the offensive player with their forearm on the offensive player's hip. The offensive player's job is to keep that defender behind them, attack at full speed, and find a way to adjust around the basket and finish. So this was early in our season, so we were kind of going from the same spots, but what we really try and do with this is vary not only positioning on the court, but depth as well. So we want our players having to adjust under these game-like conditions. So wherever the opportunity comes from, they can adjust on the fly, attack the basket, and be comfortable finding a way to put that ball in. So I think you've got an idea of this. I'm going to move forward here to a more advanced iteration. So at 12:35, this is what we call 4-on-4 advantage. So you'll notice the ball at the top of your screen right there. It's the same start for the ball handler with the defender on their hip. But our movement principles are dictated by a drive left or a drive right. What this does is it allows everybody off the ball to think and know where they're going to go before this initial drive happens. So everybody gets that time to think, but after that, it's live. So now we're moving, we're playing out the principles. We got another drive here, kick, swinging it, moving it, another good rip, playing, close out, a great 3-point shot. So we'll watch one more progression of this, but basically we're giving them a little bit of a hint to start off. We're letting everybody off the ball know where they're going to go. But then it becomes totally random and they just have to play together, connect, and figure it out. So here we got that movement. We fumbled the ball a little bit. We had a cleaner pass there. It might have been a better shot, or it certainly would have been a more efficient play. So the last thing I want to show you guys is something we do in the full court. This is our continuous transition series. 39. Excuse me. 39.50. Here we go, right here. So we set up at both ends. They don't have to take the ball out of bounds. The goal is go as fast as possible here. So stay on for 2 possessions up and back. They switch out after that second defensive possession. But what I want you to look for here is we're playing 4-on-4. We're going as fast as we can. We're playing off of each other. They're going to make mistakes. It's going to be sloppy in areas, but what we really want is we want that game-like speed. There's a turnover. Defense is just going. Oh, great. We got a 2-on-1. Great pass. Great finish. And then even on that made basket, see they didn't take the ball out there. That's what we want. So whoever gets the ball is getting it, going, pushing, and we're getting right into our principle-based offense. We want good shots. We're hunting layups, threes off the pass. And here the goal team's coming right back at them. Oh, Gray didn't talk. High percentage look, we missed it. Okay, that's all right. We're moving. We're going right into it. Look at how fast Gray's getting the ball out and going down here. So we'll watch this possession, then we'll move on. And so, as you can see, far from perfect, but, there's far from perfect, but what we really want there is we want to emphasize that, game-like speed. We want them making decisions. And even if they're not having success, that's how we want it to start. So, yeah, moving forward from here, our fall programs, we're starting on October 4th. We're running for about 6 weeks. It's Monday and Wednesday nights. We got a boys program from 6 to 7:30, girls from 7:30 to 9 at the Walter Parker Middle School in Reading. I think it's going to be really good. Spots are filling up. I think it's going to be really competitive and just a lot of fun. Our goal here is to, we're not going because we're going for an hour and a half twice a week. We're not trying to overdo it. We're trying to get all of our athletes as mentally and physically ready for the start of the season as possible. We want, when tryouts hit right after Thanksgiving, we want everybody hitting the ground running, not having any rust that they got to knock off, just being ready to go. So I started talking about this already. We want to make it fun, and we want to build those decision-making and IQ skills. So the way the programs are going to work, we're going to do 10 to 15 minutes of a dynamic warm-up. We're going to warm up all the muscles, tendons, ligaments in the legs, do everything we can to avoid injury and develop good habits as we go. We'll go for an hour to an hour and 15 minutes of basketball, and then we'll end with a debrief. So there's going to be an optional film session component to this as well. I'm going to film all the workouts. So, part of that will be for me to watch and plan subsequent workouts and make sure everything I'm seeing live is accurate, and I'm not putting too much emphasis on one thing versus another. So yeah, no one has to do a film session, but the way I do them, they're 5 to 10 minutes, really quick, really direct. We watch a few clips, talk about the most important things to improve upon, and sometimes watching that film gives us a different perspective when we're watching ourselves from that 30,000 foot view rather than being in it. And the last piece is coaches and parents are welcome to come check out what we're doing, sit in the stands. My one rule is the only feedback you can give or the only thing you can do is positive. So if you want to be quiet, totally fine. But if you want to cheer, clap, everything you say has to be positive while we're in the session. That's my only rule. So yeah, we do have some other programming as well. We do individual workouts. We do small group sessions. I know, having that fixed time for the boys and girls groups on Monday and Wednesday nights doesn't work for everybody. So if that's something that you're interested in, make sure to reach out to me. My email is highperceptionhoops@gmail.com, or you can contact me through our website, hphoops.com. There's a little contact section on the website. If you reach out to me, I'll definitely get back to you. And I've got a waiting list going now of a few folks who can't do the big program, but still want to be involved. So, excuse me. All right, well, I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now and pop this back out. Stop share. All right, well, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate everything, and hope to hear from you soon. Best of luck with your season. Thanks so much.